Well, in just 5 months, Israel's new prime minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has seen his fair share of challenges. And stopping Iran's nuclear weapons program is just the top of the list. As John Waggy reports, there are many more challenges.
While Iran's leaders rush to enrich uranium and export missiles to Lebanon and Gaza, Israel's supposed allies in the West tell the Jewish state to stop building apartments in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. The White House decision to link Israeli concessions to the Palestinians with international action against Iran makes it tougher for Israel to deal with its existential threat. Israel must also keep its eye on Iran's proxy, Hezbollah, which, according to Israeli President Shimon Peres, now has 80,000 rockets in South Lebanon. An Arab newspaper reports this week that Iran now may send anti-aircraft weapons to the Lebanese army as well. Meanwhile, Russia denies a story in Russian newspapers that this year's mysterious voyage of the ship Arctic Sea involves smuggling of sophisticated anti-aircraft missiles to Iran. On the diplomatic front, Israeli and Palestinian government ministers met this week for the first time since Netanyahu became prime minister. The meeting was bolstered by news that the Palestinian economy in the West Bank, aided by Israel, has grown by as much as 7% this year. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has said he won't meet Netanyahu until Israel completely freezes building in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. But there is talk that the two will see each other at the United Nations later this month. John Waggy, CBN News.
Well, joining us now is Israel's Deputy Foreign Minister and former Ambassador to the United States, Danny Ayalon. Danny, it's always a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Good to be here, Gordon.
Is there a point of time with Iran that you say we can't allow any further diplomatic efforts, initiatives, that we've got to take some kind of action to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon?
Yes, absolutely. You know, they have been relentless in working on their nuclear programs, violating all their obligations and international law. Their intransigence, I think, is defying logic, certainly since the United States is trying to reach out and to reason with them on a peaceful accord and with honor and dignity, and they refuse all this. Probably a year time from now is where they will cross a point of no return, whereby they will have all the capabilities where they cannot be stopped. And after that, they can weaponize, they can have enough uranium, highly enriched uranium, to have at least one bomb, and then they weaponize it. If they are unstopped, probably in 3 to 4 years, they will have a massive nuclear capability.
If you were advising the Obama administration now, what would you tell them in terms of how to deal effectively with the Iranians?
Well, you know, the United States is our best friend and ally, and we share the same interests, you know, the same values, and we're working for the same goal. I really applaud the administration's attempt to reach out to the Iranians, but there should be a time limit to that. And if there is no avail to this outstretched hand by American and the international community, there should be repercussions. And the problem right now, Gordon, is that the Iranians pose the dilemma, they throw the dilemma at our doorstep, which means they continue with their program, and it's up to us to think how to stop it. And it's time to turn the table over on that, on the Iranians, and tell them, you stop it or else. So far, they have not paid any price.
I've seen one view that if you look over, say, the last 6 years of negotiations with them to stop their nuclear program, that it's been one effort after another just to let talk go off over here, but at the same time completely ignoring the UN, any kind of international regulation, any kind of international compliance. On top of that, there's an effort to split their program into multiple locations to make it much harder as a military target to take them out. Would you agree with that? And aren't we just seeing more of the same?
Yes, but you see, with the Iranians, it is very important to remember that they are a very vulnerable country, many weaknesses that they have. We have just seen their political and social weakness during these riots, but also economically they are very vulnerable and weak. And if there was a real effective sanction regime, they wouldn't be able to sustain it for more than a few weeks. And then the entire economy with the government will collapse.
But Ahmadinejad doesn't seem to, he really doesn't seem to be aware of that as a real possibility. And I actually think on some levels he may actually look forward to that, because then that gives him a convenient enemy. It's not me causing your problems, it's the Americans causing your problems, or it's the UN causing your problems, or it's the Zionists causing your problems. Isn't that exactly what he's looking for?
Maybe, but here he's miscalculating, because certainly, yes, he would like to put it, you know, as the people with him. But we have seen now the people are really not with him. And in fact, Iran is a police state with no justice, with no rights, with really dire poverty, and the people there are not happy. We saw it with
hasn't he really consolidated power? I mean, it's unusual. It's unusual to see history repeat itself so almost exactly, where there was this phony election, a less than majority vote, continues a regime, and then in the aftermath, there just seems to be a complete removal of the opposition within Iran. And even the Ayatollah now seems to be on the outs, and his signature on the what wasn't even required before Ahmadinejad took power. Aren't we seeing that again? And isn't this now a broad consolidation of power?
Absolutely. And Ahmadinejad is a very, very astute negotiator and a poker player. He doesn't have too many cards to play with, but he plays with them very well. And part of it is because he sees a less than a reasonable response by the international community, where they acquiesce or where they do not resist and object all his wrongdoings. He becomes more and more bold.
You're talking to an audience, maybe 1 million evangelical Christians in America, more around the world. How can they help you? How can they help Israel right now?
Well, Gordon, I want to tell you that the evangelical Christians in the United States and around the world were a rock of support for us. And they really keep up our faith, and they make us stronger in an area where if you're not strong, you're being consumed. And so their support, their advocacy, their visits, their tourism, their political support is second to none to us. And I would say this resurgence of this modern time alliance between Jews and Christians is something which I think is very timely and is very important for the safety of the world.
Thank you for being with us. You at home, I just really feel impressed. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. It's one of the commandments in the Bible, and pray for peace right now. I just really am stirred in my spirit what's going on now politically in Iran, and the potential danger here, not just for Israel, for all the Middle East, for Europe, for all of us. And we need to pray for a diplomatic solution, and pray also for a political solution within Iran itself.